Hello, folks. This is Siham Cyrene, and this is Better Conversations, first one of the year. If we manage this short episode without any glitches, then we're on to a winner. Um, so today I wanted to share with you something that comes up a lot in my conversations with leaders, and is definitely the core of what we teach at Better Conversations, and that is using questions to listen better. And we most of us think we listen really well, but one of the things people discover when they join leaders who coach our course is that there really are many depths of listening and lots of different ways of listening. And I'm sharing with you here one of the things that we teach. It comes under skill around questioning, using good questions, asking good questions, and it talks about there are many different types of questions, but what we teach in Leaders Who Coach is the 6 types, and I'll just run through them briefly. And the reason I'm bringing this up at this point, rather than talking about the listening skills, is that um, very often in conversations we are wanting to contribute, or we're something that somebody says triggers an idea or a thought, and we're really keen to share it with them. Um, and unfortunately, with all the best intention, that actually can shut down conversations, that can shut down the other person, it can disempower the other person. It can just make them feel like, well, I don't know why I'm talking, if you're just going to talk over me or hijack the conversation. So it's really important that we recognize that, and that we find a way to calm those inner thoughts. And one way that we can do that is by asking questions. Questions are fantastic. They help us align, they buy us some time, they help calm our own brain and nervous system. They allow us to be more in control of the conversation and the direction of it. And it also is very inviting for the other person talking. It gives them a chance to really express what they're thinking. So the more questions we can ask, the more open questions we can ask, the more that person is going to feel heard, and will have a chance to actually work through some of the things that are in their heads. Because let's be honest, much of the time what comes out of our brains is kind of half baked. It's not a full concept or an idea. It's just something that's kind of occurred to us. And that's very normal. And many of us are verbal processors. We have to actually hear ourselves say it to process it and make sense of it. So the 6 types of questions, just very briefly, are: we can use questions to draw out details of what someone's saying and their feelings about it. We can use questions to get someone to elaborate. So, for example, we might say, "Tell me more," um, because we're not fully cognizant, or we don't really understand what they're saying. And really important to offer some compassion and patience in this space, because of that thing that I just said. Our ideas can sometimes come out half baked. So we need to say it and hear it said a few times before we ourselves can get that clarification. So um, any sort of way that you can put someone at ease and help them have a go articulating what it is that they want to say a second or third time is really helpful. Questions can also be used for challenging someone's assumptions and their limiting beliefs. We all have them. We jump to conclusion so much of the time. And often people say things and they have a way of delivering it that makes it sound like fact. And it might not be at all. Or it might be something that they've come to understand, but you have a perspective, an alternative point of view that might be helpful to them. And so rather than say, you know what, you've got that wrong, here's how it actually is, we can ask a question instead that gets the other person articulating, gets them the clarity of thought, and they remain in control of that. A fourth way we can use questions is looking for evidence. So, for example, how can we test that? How can we find out if that's true or if that's the case? Very often, again, we come to conclusions about things, and we tell ourselves a narrative that kind of sticks. And as a leader, um, we have an opportunity to help them reframe it or to validate what they're thinking. So, looking for evidence is another way that we can use questions. A fifth way is to explore alternatives, explore consequences. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But um, if we're trying to expand someone's perspective on something or consider a different way, or even just, here we're at this sort of discovery stage, what do we know? This is an opportunity to ask questions where we get to brainstorm, throw out lots of ideas. What could that look like? Let's play that through to its logical conclusion. Where might that take us? And the sixth way that we can use questions is to imagine the future. And in a one-to-one scenario between a leader and their direct report, for example, this might be really about their own growth as an individual, as a professional, and looking out on the horizon. Where do they want to get to? What does that look like? And that can be incredibly informative. And that's a space that we spend a bit of time in Leaders Who Coach when we're talking about growing the capability and capacity of our teams. But there are so many other places too that we can imagine the future as a team and as an organization. So those are the 6 questions. And I mentioned already, tell me more. It's, if there's one thing that you take from watching this video, is this phrase. Overuse it. Try it out in lots of different scenarios. For all those 6 types of questions, you can use tell me more if that's the only thing that you take away. Those 3 words are just beautiful. They're simple. They're very inviting. Again, it buys you time because it really focuses you to listen. So it's not a question, it's a phrase. But it's still, we talk about questions and phrases in Leaders Who Coach because it's about being inviting in the conversation for so many good reasons, both emotionally and strategically. So, what does X mean to you? Another great question. That thing about assuming, the limiting beliefs that we hold. We think we know what someone means by a certain word or a phrase, like success or collaboration, or environment. And we can talk about having a healthy environment. Well, what does that really mean to you? What's your definition? What does that look like? What does that feel like? So just a lovely question to, if you feel like you are not 100% sure, or equally, if you want to just get that clarity for yourself and have them articulate, express what it is. We've never actually talked about this. We've assumed that we know what we mean, or that we have the same understanding of what environment means or collaboration means. But are we really aligned? So that's a great question to use. Let's have a look at another question. Along the same lines, I understand this about X. Is that your understanding? Just this Monday, we were in a Leaders Who Coach refresh call for our graduates. And this is about revisiting many of the skills and so on, and then diving a little bit deeper with the troubleshooting, things that we are stuck on or finding a little bit difficult. And the context was, the challenge, if you like, was, what do I do if I'm feeling quite triggered by what the other person is saying and I disagree with them really strongly? So we can get frustrated and we might shut them down, or we might say, no, that's rubbish. That's not how it is. Um, but another way we can get in there that keeps it inviting is, and this is gives us a chance to kind of express that I have a different perspective, but I'm keen to understand your perspective. So I understand this about X. Is that your understanding? Because that actually can give us a really good opportunity to do that alignment, do that what I call creative alignment in a conversation. It allows me to understand, okay, so this person may be coming at this from quite a different perspective to me. And that's why we're clashing. That's why we keep sort of butting heads and not having a healthy or useful conversation. So a great one to use in lots of different scenarios, whether you just want to understand more or you're feeling a bit triggered by what the other person is saying. Another question that we could look at is, what's brought you to this conclusion? Similarly, if you're in conversation and you disagree with someone's perspective or opinion, or you have a direct report who's trying to work something through, it's a new skill or a challenge, a new space that they're in, and this might be part of your handing over or delegating something to them. And they come to you with, this is what I've decided to do, these are my ideas, and so on. Asking this, what's brought you to this conclusion, helps us understand, okay, what were the stages, or the as my good friend Ushi said, what were the inputs to this person's thinking, and what's played into that? How have they come to this point? Because that helps me identify maybe some areas that I need to offer some more guidance, some more information, point them in a different direction, make suggestions. So a really helpful one. And also, if you disagree, a great one to use, what's brought you to this conclusion? All right, another one. What might the consequences of that be? Seemingly simple. We like simple questions, but really healthy, this one, because certainly in my experience, I've seen people on our own, we can think maybe to what happens next and possibly the step after that. Where we struggle is to imagine or see what happens at step 3, 4, 5, or even the logical conclusion. So this is a great question to ask that challenges some assumptions, imagines the future, helps us identify other areas where we actually maybe need to go back to the drawing board and explore more or ask more questions. So what might the consequences of that be? Allows that person to talk through, okay, well, I could go down that process, but then it actually, in talking it through with you, what they start to get a sense of is who might be impacted by the thing that I thought I was going to do, and opens up another conversation about, okay, well, what does that conversation with that audience or stakeholder look like? So really, really helpful one there. And finally, it's important to notice, and when we are doing that really deep listening, it's really important to notice the change in someone's body language. Um, and there's lots of different ways that you can call that out or notice it, and you can do it in a very gentle way that is non-judgmental. And but this is a really nice one to just say, I can see this topic is unsettling. And we might notice that by someone's change of energy. They might talk faster, they might talk more slowly, they might go quiet. there might be an adjustment in their body language. There might be more of a defensive stance or posturing that you see come up as they're talking about it, and other things that may express to you or indicate to you that this person's quite uncomfortable. So we can notice that. I can see this topic is unsettling. What's coming up for you? And allow that space for someone to actually express and validate, yeah, I feel quite emotional about this, or I feel triggered by this, um, or I'm feeling quite confused, or I'm feeling angry and annoyed at what's happened here, or I'm feeling disrespected by the way so and so handled that conversation. Um, and we must be willing to make that space of exploring our feelings and perceptions without judgment and compassionately. We're not there to make a call on these things, because you know what? The moment we judge, that person is going to shut down and not share anymore with us. And why should they? So, just a few tasters there of some of the questions. Hopefully, you get to try out some of these over the coming this week, next week, whenever you're watching this. Um, and I would love for you to tell me, what do you like? Which of these questions do you find value in? And if you try any of them out, how did that go? We're all about experimenting at Better Conversations. That's how we grow our confidence and our capability in conversations. If we don't make those mistakes, we are none the wiser. We don't actually get to find out what is that phrase or question that actually serves me really well as a leader. So if you're interested to learn more about the skills of leaders who coach, do check out our course. It's CPD certified. Last year, we had an amazing, down to our amazing tutor team, um, the leaders who went on the course, cohort after cohort, rated it 5 stars, gave it a 10 out of 10 net promoter score. It hits all the top things that McKinsey tells you that need to be in any kind of leadership development program. And on that scale alone, we outperform other leadership development courses that you might have considered. So I say that very proudly for what we have at Better Conversations. If you're interested to learn more about it, head on over to leaderswhocoach.today, or you can navigate there as well through our betterconversations.co website. We have cohorts running throughout the year, public ones, and we also run ones for companies to have internal cohorts. So do check that out. And if you haven't accessed it already, we have an infographic. It's a feedback conversations infographic. You can download it. There are loads more questions and phrases, and it talks you through the stages of different conversations. We've got creative alignment, and we've also got the contracting phase of a conversation. It's designed for you to use for feedback, use in feedback conversations, but you know what? You can use them. They apply, those questions and those phrases are relevant to all our conversations. So do check that out, download it, and you also get a couple of video tutorials from me as well, where I dive a little bit deeper about some of the elements. It's packed with information, and I really recommend folks to have it on your phone, and you can do a quick 5-minute prep before any really important conversation you want to get your head clear and think about what it is that you want to say, and how you're going to navigate through it, because often that's the reason why we don't have important conversations, is because when I start it, what happens next, right? That can feel quite scary. What should I do if they say this or they say that? How do I respond to that? I'm not sure. Oh, I'm not going to have the conversation. So I really encourage you to have a look at it, use it to help you have those really important conversations. Don't put them off. they're super important. If they are concerning you, keeping you awake at night, or you're thinking about it a lot, or you're talking about it a lot, maybe boring your family and friends about the issue that you're facing, you definitely need this infographic. So go ahead and download it, and make good use of it. Tell me what you think. If you liked this video, please follow me. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am going to be live weekly with bits of information, things that are coming up for our leaders in our community. So make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel to know when the next videos are. And what else can I tell you? Like this episode, definitely give us a thumbs up, give us some feedback. I'm just noticing, checking the comments here. If you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comments, ask me. I'm really happy to answer. Reach out to me if you are in need of more guidance about anything that I've shared today. Very happy to do that. Always up for a better conversation. Fantastic. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next week.